The rain had started hours ago, turning the streets of downtown Manhattan into a blur of wet concrete and blurred headlights. Inside Bella's bistro, the warmth contrasted sharply with the cold November night outside. The restaurant was nearly empty now, just 3 tables left, their occupants finishing desserts or scrolling through phones while their coffee grew cold. Maya Collins moved between the tables with practiced invisibility. 28 years old, 5'4", with her natural hair pulled back into a tight bun beneath the standard-issue white headscarf, she had perfected the art of being present without being seen. 6 years working as a busser at Bella's had taught her that much. She wiped down table 7 for the 3rd time, even though it was already spotless. The elderly couple who'd sat there had left 20 minutes ago, but Maya found comfort in the repetition. The motion kept her hands busy, kept her mind from wandering to the stack of medical bills waiting in her studio apartment in Queens, or the voicemail from her landlord she hadn't returned yet. "Table 12 is getting ready to leave," Marcus, the head waiter, whispered as he passed her with a tray of empty wine glasses. His eyes flicked toward the corner booth, where a young man sat alone, finishing what looked like a $50 steak. Maya nodded without looking up. She'd noticed the man when he arrived. It was impossible not to. He'd walked in like he owned the place, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. No reservation, but the hostess had scrambled to find him the best table anyway. That's how it worked when you looked like money. He was young, maybe 30, with the kind of sharp features and carefully maintained stubble that suggested he spent more time in front of a mirror than Maya spent sleeping. Throughout his meal, he'd barely glanced at the servers, never said please or thank you, and had spent most of his time typing aggressively on his phone between bites. The kitchen lights dimmed slightly. Diego signaled that he was starting to close down for the night. It was 10:47 p.m., 13 minutes until her shift officially ended, but Maya knew she'd be here at least another 30 minutes cleaning up. The young man at table 12 pushed his plate away and raised one hand without looking up from his phone. Marcus hurried over with the check, his professional smile firmly in place. Maya watched from the corner of her eye as she reorganized the salt and pepper shakers on table 9. The transaction took less than 2 minutes. The man pulled out a black credit card, the kind with no spending limit, and handed it over without a word. Marcus processed it, brought back the receipt, and waited. Nothing. The man signed quickly, stood up and walked toward the door while buttoning his coat. He didn't look back, didn't acknowledge Marcus's "Have a good evening, sir," didn't seem to notice that he'd just spent over $200 on a solitary meal. If you're enjoying this story and want to see what Maya discovers under that napkin, please subscribe to our channel. We're just getting started, and your support means everything. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the shocking twist coming in the next chapters. Marcus returned to the server station and checked the receipt. Maya saw his jaw tighten, the universal sign of a disappointing tip. He caught her eye and shook his head slightly before disappearing into the kitchen. That left table 12 for Maya. She approached it slowly, her cleaning cart squeaking slightly on the polished floor. The restaurant's soft jazz music played overhead, something instrumental and forgettable. Through the front windows, she could see the man climbing into a black Mercedes that had been idling at the curb. A driver opened the door for him. Of course he had a driver. The table was a mess. The man had left his napkin crumpled beside the plate, hadn't touched the complimentary bread basket, and had somehow managed to get sauce on the white tablecloth. But what caught Maya's attention were the coins. 7 quarters sat in a small pile next to his water glass. $1.75. Maya stared at them for a long moment, feeling a familiar tightness in her chest. It wasn't anger. She'd learned long ago that anger was a luxury she couldn't afford. It was more like resignation, the kind that settles in your bones when you realize that some people will never see you as fully human. She'd served plenty of people like him. People who left coins like they were doing you a favor. People who never made eye contact. People who treated service workers like furniture that happened to occasionally move and bring food. Taking a deep breath, Maya began clearing the table. She stacked the plates carefully, force of habit, even though Diego would just throw them in the industrial dishwasher. She collected the unused silverware, wiped up the sauce, and reached for the coins. That's when she noticed it. The napkin wasn't where it should be. Most people left their napkins crumpled on their plates or tossed carelessly aside. But this one was positioned deliberately, almost carefully, next to the coins. And it wasn't flat. Something was underneath it. Maya paused, her hand hovering over the table. The rational part of her brain said it was probably just a piece of food, a dropped garnish, nothing worth investigating. but something about the precise placement made her curious. She glanced around the restaurant. The last 2 tables were occupied by regulars who never looked up from their conversations. Marcus was in the back. The hostess was counting the cash drawer. No one was watching her. Slowly, Maya lifted the edge of the napkin. Her breath caught. Beneath the white linen, sitting perfectly centered where the man's plate had been, was a small black business card. But that wasn't what made her pulse quicken. Clipped to the card with a silver money clip was a thick stack of bills. Maya's hands started to shake. She looked toward the door. The Mercedes was gone. She looked toward the kitchen. Still empty. Her mind raced through possibilities, each more confusing than the last. This had to be a mistake. Rich people didn't leave cash under napkins. They didn't leave anything under napkins. And they certainly didn't leave it for people like her. But even as she thought it, Maya knew it wasn't true. The napkin's placement had been too deliberate. The coins on top had been too obvious. A distraction maybe, or a test. With trembling fingers, she picked up the money clip and fanned the bills. All hundreds. She counted quickly, twice unable to believe what she was seeing. $10,000. The jazz music continued playing. Someone laughed at table 4. Diego clattered pots in the kitchen. The world kept moving while Maya stood frozen, holding more money than she'd made in the past 6 months. Wondering if this was real or if exhaustion had finally broken her brain. She turned the business card over. It was matte black with silver embossed lettering so subtle she had to tilt it toward the light to read, Alexander Chen, founder and CEO, Chen Industries. And below, in smaller text, some people see what's in front of them. Rare few see what's underneath. Maya's hand closed around the card and the money. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This didn't make sense. None of this made sense. People didn't just leave $10,000 under napkins. They didn't leave cryptic business cards for busboys, for people whose names they never bothered to ask. Maya? Marcus's voice made her jump. You good to lock up the bathrooms? Yeah, she called back, surprised her voice sounded normal. Just finishing 12. She looked down at her clenched fist, then at the 7 quarters still sitting on the table. The message was clear now, almost painfully so. The coins were what people like Alexander Chen thought people like Maya deserved. The money underneath was, what? A game? A test? An insult wrapped in generosity? She should take this to the manager. She should turn it in to Lost and Found. She should do the right thing because that's what people like her always did. The honest thing, the safe thing, the thing that kept them employed and invisible and exactly where they'd always been. But the stack of bills was heavy in her hand, heavy with possibility, heavy with questions. And somewhere in Manhattan, in the back of a Mercedes driving through rain-slicked streets, Alexander Chen was either regretting a very expensive mistake or waiting to see if the invisible woman at table 12 would do exactly what he expected. Maya slipped the money and the card into her apron pocket. She'd decide what to do later. Right now she needed to finish her shift, clock out, and try to breathe normally. She picked up the 7 quarters and dropped them into her tip jar. Then she finished cleaning table 12, her mind spinning with questions she didn't have answers to yet. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking on the subway ride home. She sat in the corner of the nearly empty car, her cleaning supplies bag clutched against her chest, hyper-aware of the apron folded inside it. The apron with $10,000 in the pocket. The one train rattled through the tunnel toward Queens, fluorescent lights flickering overhead, and Maya tried to look like just another exhausted service worker heading home after a long shift, which is exactly what she was. Except for the small fortune pressed against her ribs. She'd made it through the last hour of her shift on autopilot, locked the bathrooms, helped Marcus stack chairs, wiped down the bar, punched out at 11:23 p.m. exactly. Her manager, Robert, had been in his office doing paperwork, and barely glanced up when she said goodnight. If her voice had been shaky, he hadn't noticed. No one ever really noticed Maya, until tonight. The business card felt like it was burning a hole through the fabric of her bag. She'd looked at it 3 more times in the employee bathroom, memorizing every detail. Alexander Chen, Chen Industries. That strange quote about seeing underneath. Across from her, a man in a construction vest dozed with his head against the window. 2 teenage girls giggled over a phone near the doors. Normal people living normal lives, none of them carrying questions that felt too big to hold. Maya's phone buzzed. She pulled it out. Another text from her landlord, Mr. Kozlov. 3rd one this week. Rent was due yesterday. Need payment by Friday or we discuss other arrangements. Her stomach tightened. Other arrangements meant eviction. It meant searching for a new place she couldn't afford in a city that had no room for people like her. It meant possibly moving back to her aunt's cramped apartment in the Bronx, sharing a pull-out couch with her cousin's 2 kids. The money in her pocket could solve everything. First month, last month, security deposit on a better place, months of breathing room, a chance to finally get ahead instead of constantly treading water. But it wasn't hers. Was it? The train screeched into 103rd Street. Maya stood, legs unsteady, and stepped onto the platform. The November wind cut through her thin jacket as she climbed the stairs to street level. Rain had stopped, leaving everything wet and reflective under the streetlights. Her building was 4 blocks away, a pre-war walk-up with a perpetually broken intercom and stairs that creaked like they were rehearsing for collapse. She'd lived in apartment 4B for 3 years, ever since her mother passed, and she couldn't afford to keep the family place in Brooklyn. Maya took the stairs slowly, exhaustion settling into her bones. At the 3rd-floor landing, Mrs. Patterson's door opened a crack. The elderly woman who kept track of everyone's comings and goings like it was her job. "Late night, dear," Mrs. Patterson said, her voice raspy from decades of cigarettes. "Same as always, Mrs. P," Maya replied, forcing a smile. "You look pale. You eating enough?" "I'm fine. Just tired." Mrs. Patterson studied her for a moment longer, then nodded and closed her door. Maya heard the locks clicking into place. 4 of them, as always. Inside her apartment, Maya locked her own door and leaned against it, finally alone. The studio was tiny, barely 300 square feet, but it was hers. A Murphy bed that folded into the wall, a kitchenette with 2 burners, a bathroom the size of a closet. The window overlooked an air shaft, so she never got real sunlight. But the rent was $1,400 a month, which was almost reasonable by New York standards. Almost. She set her bag on the small table that doubled as her desk and dining area, then carefully removed the apron. The money was still there. Real. Solid. She spread the bills across the table and counted again. $100 bills. $10,000. Next to it, she placed the black business card. In the dim light of her apartment, the silver lettering seemed to glow. Maya opened her laptop, a refurbished model she'd bought 3 years ago that took 2 minutes to boot up. While it loaded, she made herself a cup of instant coffee, her 3rd of the day, knowing she wouldn't sleep anyway. The Google search was simple: Alexander Chen Industries. The results loaded and Maya's coffee cup stopped halfway to her lips. Chen Industries wasn't just successful, it was massive. A tech conglomerate worth billions, specializing in artificial intelligence, data analytics, and automated systems. Alexander Chen had founded it at 24, fresh out of MIT, and had grown it into one of the fastest rising companies in the sector. Maya clicked through images. There he was, the same sharp features, the same expensive suits, posing at tech conferences, shaking hands with politicians, appearing on the covers of business magazines. Forbes had named him one of their 30 under 30 5 years ago. TechCrunch called him a visionary disruptor. Bloomberg described him as ruthlessly efficient and notoriously private. She found an interview from 6 months ago in Wired magazine. The journalist asked about his reputation for being cold, for treating employees like algorithms instead of people. Chen's response: "Efficiency isn't cruelty. I measure what matters. Most people never look beyond surface-level interactions. They miss the data underneath. Those who see deeper, those are the people worth investing in." Maya read the quote 3 times. Those who see deeper. The business card's message echoed in her mind. Some people see what's in front of them. Rare few see what's underneath. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. But why her? She scrolled through more articles looking for anything that explained why a billionaire tech CEO would leave $10,000 under a napkin for a busser he'd never met. The articles painted Chen as calculating, strategic, someone who did nothing without purpose. Every business move was planned months in advance. Every acquisition carefully analyzed. Nothing about him suggested impulsive generosity. Maya's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it, her best friend Shanice calling. She let it go to voicemail. How could she explain this? Shanice would tell her to keep it, no questions asked. Shanice had grown up even harder than Maya, in foster homes that taught her to take what she could get because the world sure wouldn't give it freely. But something about this felt like a trap. Rich people didn't give away money for nothing. They invested. They expected returns. And Alexander Chen seemed like the type who expected excellent returns on every investment. Maya turned back to her laptop and searched for more recent news. Most articles were about business deals, acquisitions, new product launches. But 3 weeks ago, A small piece in the New York Post caught her attention. Tech billionaires' mysterious hiring practices. The article was brief, almost dismissive. It mentioned that Chen Industries had been recruiting through unconventional methods. No job postings, no traditional interviews. Several people had reported receiving unexpected offers after brief encounters with Chen or his representatives. The company declined to comment. One quote stood out. An anonymous source described it as some kind of elaborate personality test. He's looking for something specific, but no one knows what. Maya's chest felt tight. She looked at the money spread across her table, then at the business card, then at her laptop screen showing Alexander Chen's unsmiling face in a corporate headshot. This was a test. The coins on the table, the obvious tip, the insulting gesture, were what most people would see. They'd take them or ignore them and move on. They'd never look underneath because why would they? Rich people didn't hide treasure under napkins, but Maya had looked. The question was, what did that mean she'd passed? Or failed? Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Maya's hand froze over the screen. You found it. Good. Come to this address tomorrow, 2 p.m. Bring the card. AC below the message was an address in Midtown Manhattan. Maya's heart hammered. How did he have her number? She'd never given it to anyone at the restaurant except Robert, and that was just for shift changes and emergencies. Another text came through immediately. Before you ask, I make it my business to know things. You looked under the napkin when most wouldn't. That tells me what I need to know. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Don't be late. And yes, keep the money. Consider it a signing bonus. Signing bonus for what? Maya typed, hands shaking. The response was almost instant. Come tomorrow and find out, or don't. But this opportunity expires at 2:01 p.m. Maya stared at her phone. Every rational instinct screamed this was dangerous. You didn't accept money from strangers. You didn't go to mysterious addresses because a billionaire told you to. You didn't trust tests that felt like traps. But rent was due Friday. Mrs. Patterson had mentioned that someone was mugged 2 blocks over last week. Her laptop was dying and she couldn't afford a new one. She'd been eating ramen for dinner 4 nights a week because that's all her budget allowed. And somewhere in the back of her mind, beneath the fear and confusion, was something else. Curiosity. For 6 years, Maya had been invisible. She'd cleaned tables and avoided eye contact and made herself small, because that's what kept you employed, kept you safe, kept you from hoping for anything more than survival. But Alexander Chen had seen her. Not the uniform or the color of her skin or the role she played. He'd seen that she looked underneath when others wouldn't. That had to mean something. Maya's fingers hovered over her phone. She could delete the messages, throw away the card, donate the money to charity and pretend tonight never happened, go back to Bella's tomorrow and clean tables and stay invisible for the rest of her life. Safe, predictable, broke. Or she could go to that address at 2 p.m. tomorrow and find out why a billionaire thought she was worth testing. Outside her window, a siren wailed in the distance. The city never slept, never stopped moving, never waited for people who were too afraid to take chances. Maya looked at the money on her table one more time. Then she carefully folded it back into her apron pocket, placed the business card in her wallet and set an alarm for 11 a.m. Tomorrow, she'd find out what Alexander Chen really wanted, and pray it wasn't something she'd regret. Maya woke up at 6 a.m. 2 hours before her alarm with her heart already racing. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Alexander Chen's face from the restaurant, that cold, calculating expression as he signed the receipt and walked away. In her half-dreams, the business card's message kept changing. Some people see what's in front of them. Rare few see what's underneath. Then it became, some people know when they're being watched. You didn't, because that's what bothered her most. Sometime during his meal, Alexander Chen had been watching her, studying her, waiting to see if she'd look under the napkin. Maya sat up in her Murphy bed and checked her phone. The text messages from last night were still there. Proof she hadn't imagined it. The address he'd sent was on 52nd Street, between 5th and 6th Avenue. She'd Google mapped it before finally falling asleep around 3 a.m. The building was a sleek glass tower in Midtown. Chen Industries occupied floors 30 through 45. Maya made coffee and tried to eat toast, but her stomach was too knotted to handle food. She showered, then stood in front of her closet, which consisted of a rolling rack with maybe 15 items total, trying to figure out what you wore to meet a billionaire who'd left you $10,000 as a test. Everything she owned was wrong. Too casual, too worn, too much like exactly what she was. A woman who worked for minimum wage plus tips and hadn't bought new clothes in 2 years. Finally, she settled on her only pair of black slacks, the ones she wore to job interviews that never went anywhere, and a navy blue blouse she'd found at a thrift store. Simple, professional enough, the best she could do. At noon, Maya stood in front of her mirror and barely recognized herself. She'd let her natural hair down from its usual tight bun, the curls framing her face in a way that felt both more authentic and more vulnerable. She looked younger than 28. She looked scared. She was scared. Maya checked her wallet. The business card was there along with her subway card and her ID. The $10,000 she'd hidden in an envelope taped to the underside of her table. If this was some elaborate robbery scheme, at least he wouldn't get all of it back. The thought made her pause. What was she walking into? Her phone buzzed. Shanice calling for the third time since last night. Maya declined it again and sent a quick text. Can't talk now. We'll explain later. If you don't hear from me by 5 p.m., I texted you an address. Send police. Shanice's response was immediate. What? Girl, where are you going? Call me now. Maya silenced her phone and slipped it into her purse. She'd explain everything later. Probably. If there was anything to explain. If this wasn't all some surreal mistake that would evaporate the moment she walked into that building. The subway ride into Manhattan felt endless. Maya sat with her purse clutched in her lap, watching the stations blur past. At 42nd Street, a man in an expensive overcoat got on and sat across from her. For a paranoid moment, she wondered if he worked for Chen, if she was already being watched. The man got off at the next stop without even glancing her direction. Maya emerged from the subway at Rockefeller Center at 1:37 p.m. The November air was crisp and cold, the kind that cut through thin jackets and reminded you that winter was coming. Around her, Midtown buzzed with lunch hour crowds, business people in wool coats, tourists taking photos, street vendors selling hot pretzels and coffee. She walked slowly toward 52nd Street, trying to calm her breathing. The building appeared ahead of her like a monolith of steel and glass reflecting the gray sky. A subtle sign near the entrance read, Chen Tower. Of course he had a whole tower. Maya stood across the street for a full minute, watching people flow in and out of the revolving doors. They all looked like they belonged there, confident, purposeful, expensive. She looked like someone who'd gotten off at the wrong subway stop. Her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number, from Chen. You're standing across the street. Come inside. Security is expecting you. Maya's head snapped up. She scanned the building's facade, looking for cameras, for windows where someone might be watching. There were hundreds. He could be anywhere, or nowhere. Maybe he just tracked her phone. Taking a deep breath that did nothing to steady her nerves, Maya crossed the street and pushed through the revolving door. The lobby was exactly what she expected. Sleek, modern, intimidating. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Minimalist furniture that looked expensive and uncomfortable. A massive abstract sculpture in the center that probably cost more than her entire building. Everything designed to make you feel small. The security desk was straight ahead. A woman in a crisp uniform looked up as Maya approached, her expression professionally neutral. I'm here to see Alexander Chen, Maya said, hating how uncertain her voice sounded. I have a 2 p.m. appointment. The woman's eyebrows rose slightly, the first crack in her professional mask. Name? Maya Collins. The woman typed something into her computer, her expression shifting from skepticism to surprise. Of course, Ms. Collins. Mr. Chen is expecting you. She handed Maya a visitor badge. Take the executive elevator to the 45th floor. Someone will meet you there. Maya clipped the badge to her blouse with trembling fingers. The executive elevator was glass, and as it rose, she watched Manhattan spread out below her. The geometric grid of streets, the masses of people reduced to dots, the world getting smaller and smaller. Or maybe she was just getting higher than she'd ever been allowed to climb before. The elevator doors opened at 45 with a soft chime. A woman stood waiting, Asian mid-30s wearing a gray pantsuit that screamed executive assistant. Her smile was polite but didn't reach her eyes. Ms. Collins, I'm Jennifer Zhao, Mr. Chen's chief of staff. Please follow me. Maya stepped out into a space that barely looked like an office. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of the city. The furniture was sparse but elegant. Everything was white and chrome and glass, sterile, like a hospital designed by someone who'd never been sick. They walked down a wide corridor. Maya caught glimpses into glass-walled conference rooms where people in expensive suits gestured at holographic displays. Everything looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie, not real life. Mr. Chen appreciates punctuality, Jennifer said without looking back. You're 3 minutes early. He'll be pleased. What exactly is this meeting about? Maya asked. Jennifer's smile became slightly more genuine. He'll explain everything. They stopped in front of a double door made of dark wood, the only non-glass door Maya had seen on this floor. Jennifer knocked twice, then opened it without waiting for a response. Ms. Collins, sir. Thank you, Jennifer. The voice came from behind a massive desk near the windows. Alexander Chen stood with his back to them, looking out at the city. He wore a black suit identical to the one from last night, though Maya suspected he had a closet full of identical black suits. Jennifer left, closing the door silently behind her. Maya stood just inside the room, unsure whether to speak or wait. The office was enormous, easily the size of her entire apartment. One wall was covered in monitors displaying data she couldn't understand. Another held bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes that looked like they'd never been opened. You looked under the napkin, Chen said, still facing the window. 93% of people wouldn't have. How do you know that? Maya's voice came out stronger than she expected. Chen turned to face her, and Maya saw him clearly for the first time. In the restaurant, he'd seemed cold and distant. Here, in his own space, he looked almost predatory, like a chess player studying the board. I've run this test 47 times in the past 6 months, he said. Different restaurants, different cities, always the same setup. Coins on top, something valuable underneath. 44 people took the coins and left. 3 looked underneath. You're the 4th. Maya's hands clenched at her sides. So this is just a game to you? Seeing how people react? Not a game, a filter. Chen moved from behind his desk, closing the distance between them. He stopped about 6 feet away, close enough to be intense, far enough to be professional. Most people see only what's presented to them. They accept surface-level reality and never question what might be hidden. Those people are adequate, functional, replaceable, and the ones who look underneath are worth my time. Chen's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Sit down, Ms. Collins. It wasn't a request. Maya sat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk. Chen took the chair next to her, not behind the desk, which felt deliberate. Everything he did felt deliberate. Tell me why you looked, he said. Maya met his gaze. The napkin was placed too carefully. It didn't match the rest of the table. You left coins like an insult, but positioned the napkin like it mattered. The inconsistency bothered me. You notice patterns. I notice when things don't fit. Chen nodded slowly. How long have you worked at Bella's? 6 years. And before that? I was in college, Columbia, sociology major. Maya didn't know why she was telling him this. I had to drop out when my mother got sick, lung cancer, the medical bills. She stopped herself. He didn't need her life story. But Chen leaned forward slightly. You dropped out to care for her. How long? 14 months. She died 3 years ago. And you never went back to Columbia. Couldn't afford it. Once you're out, the financial aid gets complicated. And I had bills to pay, rent to cover. Maya's voice hardened. Not all of us have MIT degrees and venture capital. Instead of taking offense, Chen smiled. Actually smiled. It transformed his face from cold to almost human. Good, he said. You have a spine. Most people sit in that chair and tell me what they think I want to hear. You're telling me the truth. What do you want from me, Mr. Chen? He stood and walked to the wall of monitors. With a gesture, they all changed to display a single image, a complex organizational chart with hundreds of names and connecting lines. Chen Industries has grown rapidly, he said. Too rapidly, perhaps. We've automated everything we can: marketing, logistics, customer service. AI handles 90% of our operations. But there's one thing algorithms can't do. What's that? See what humans hide. Chen touched the screen and it zoomed in on a section of the chart. Someone in this company is stealing from me. Not money, that would be easy to track. They're stealing data, proprietary algorithms, client information, research that's worth hundreds of millions. They're smart enough to hide their digital footprint, smart enough to avoid every security protocol we have. Maya's stomach dropped. And you think I can find them? I think someone who notices inconsistencies, who looks underneath when others don't, might see what my security team has missed. Chen turned back to her. You worked in a restaurant for 6 years. You watched people. You learned to read them, to predict what they needed before they asked. That's pattern recognition. That's valuable. I'm not a detective. I'm not even a college graduate. You're someone who pays attention, who doesn't accept things at face value. Chen returned to his chair. I've interviewed hundreds of candidates with impressive degrees and impeccable credentials. None of them looked under the napkin. Maya's mind raced. This was insane. He wanted to hire her, a busser from Queens with no qualifications, to find a corporate spy. What exactly would I be doing? Observing, noticing, reporting what doesn't fit. Chen pulled out a tablet and slid it across to her. Starting salary is $200,000 a year. Health insurance, housing stipend, education benefits if you want to finish your degree. 6-month trial period. After that, we discuss long-term placement. The numbers didn't make sense. Maya had made $23,000 last year. Why me? Really? Chen was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice had lost some of its corporate polish. Because people like you, people who've had to fight for everything, see things people like me miss. You can't afford to be naive. You can't afford to trust surface-level presentations. And most importantly, he leaned back in his chair. You're invisible. People like you work around powerful people every day and we never see you. That makes you perfect. Maya felt the words like a slap. Invisible. It's not an insult. It's an asset. Chen's expression remained neutral. The person stealing from me? They won't see you coming. Because you're exactly what they expect to ignore. Maya stood abruptly. I need to think about this. You have until 5 p.m. today. After that, I extend the offer to candidate number 5. Chen stood as well. The money in your apron pocket? Keep it regardless. You earned it by looking underneath. But if you want more, if you want a chance to be more than invisible, you know where to find me. Jennifer appeared at the door as if summoned by telepathy. I'll show you out, Ms. Collins. Maya followed her to the elevator in silence, her mind spinning. As the doors closed and she began her descent back to ground level, she caught her reflection in the glass. She didn't look invisible anymore. She looked terrified. Maya walked out of Chen Tower and kept walking for 20 blocks. She didn't know where she was going. Her feet just moved, carrying her past Rockefeller Center, past the crowds of tourists, past street vendors and business people and the entire machinery of Manhattan that never stopped churning. The November wind bit through her thin jacket, but she barely felt it. $200,000 a year. The number kept repeating in her mind like a broken record. She made less than $12 an hour at Bella's. Even with tips, the good nights, the bad nights, the nights people left coins like insults, she barely cleared $23,000 a year. Alexander Chen was offering her almost 10 times that. To do what? Watch people? Notice inconsistencies? Be invisible in a building full of people who already didn't see her? Maya found herself on a bench in Bryant Park, surrounded by people on lunch breaks and mothers with strollers. She pulled out her phone. 17 missed calls from Shanice. 6 texts asking if she was alive. 1 from her landlord reminding her rent was due Friday. She should call Shanice, she should explain everything. But how could she explain what she didn't understand herself? Instead, Maya opened her banking app. Current balance, $8.47. 32. Rent was $1,400, due in 3 days. She'd been planning to ask Robert for an advance on next week's shifts. Maybe pick up extra hours at the coffee shop on Amsterdam that sometimes needed weekend help. Eat nothing but rice and beans for 2 weeks. The usual mathematical gymnastics of being broke in the most expensive city in America. Or she could call Alexander Chen and say yes. Maya's thumb hovered over her recent calls. The unknown number was right there. She could end this uncertainty with 1 phone call. But something Chen said kept echoing in her mind. You're invisible. That makes you perfect. He was right, of course. Maya had spent 6 years perfecting the art of not being seen, moving through spaces without disturbing them, reading people without them knowing they were being read. It was survival, the camouflage that let you keep your job, avoid harassment, stay safe in a world that didn't always treat women like her with kindness. But Chen wanted to weaponize that invisibility, turn it into a tool for corporate espionage hunting. Was that better or worse than cleaning tables? A mother nearby laughed as her toddler chased pigeons. A businessman shouted into his phone about quarterly projections. Life continued around Maya like she was a stone in a river. The water just flowed past. Her phone buzzed. A text from the unknown number. You're thinking too hard. It's a simple question. Do you want to keep being invisible by necessity or be invisible by choice? There's power in the latter. AC Maya stared at the message. How did he know she was overthinking? Was he having her followed? Or did he just understand how people like her thought? People who'd learned that every decision could mean the difference between surviving and drowning. Another text came through. Also, Your landlord just filed an eviction notice in housing court. It won't be processed until Monday, but I thought you should know. Time is not on your side, Ms. Collins. Maya's blood ran cold. How did he know that? She checked her banking app again, then her email. Nothing from Kozlov yet, but if Chen was right. Of course he was right. Men like Alexander Chen didn't bluff. Her fingers typed before her brain could stop them. How do you know about my landlord? The response was instant. I know everything about everyone I invest in. Your credit score is 640. You're 3 months behind on a medical bill from your mother's final hospital stay. You take the 1 train to work and walk the last 4 blocks to save $2.75. You're smart, observant, and desperate. Those qualities make you either perfect for this job or perfect to exploit. I prefer to think it's the former. Maya felt violated and seen in equal measure. Part of her wanted to throw her phone in the trash and disappear, but another part, the part that had looked under the napkin, wanted to know more. If I say yes, what happens next? You start Monday, 9 a.m. I'll send details tonight. You'll sign an NDA, complete security clearance, meet your team, and Ms. Collins, don't disappoint me. I don't give third chances. Maya looked up at the sky, gray clouds moving fast, threatening rain. Around her, people lived their lives with certainty. They knew who they were, where they belonged, what tomorrow would bring. She'd never had that luxury. I'll be there, she typed. The response came with an attachment, a PDF labeled Employment Contract, Confidential. Read it, sign it, return by 8 p.m. tonight. Welcome to Chen Industries, Ms. Collins. Try not to trust anyone. The last line made her stomach clench. Maya spent the next 4 hours in the public library on 42nd Street, reading the contract on one of the ancient desktop computers. It was 47 pages of legal language that basically said, Chen Industries owned everything she saw, heard, or discovered while employed. She couldn't discuss her work with anyone. Violation of the NDA carried penalties including criminal charges and financial liability she couldn't begin to afford. She was signing away her right to talk about her job, her right to question certain decisions, her right to leave without consequences if things went wrong. But tucked in Section 12, subsection C was a different clause. Employee may terminate employment at any time with 30 days' notice, with full severance equivalent to 6 months' salary, provided no NDA violations have occurred. 6 months' salary. That was $100,000. Even if she hated it, even if it was a disaster, she could walk away with more money than she'd made in 4 years at Bella's. Maya signed the contract electronically, her hand shaking so badly she had to redo her signature twice. At 7:47 p.m., she hit send. At 7:48 p.m., her phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Collins. Chen's voice was crisp, professional. Check your bank account. Maya opened the app. Her balance had changed. $11,347.32. First week's salary prorated, Chen said. Consider it a show of good faith. Use it to settle your rent situation. Monday, 9 a.m., 45th floor. Jennifer will have your credentials ready. And Ms. Collins? Yes? Get some sleep, you're going to need it. He hung up. Maya stared at her phone screen at the number that meant she could pay rent, buy groceries, maybe even fix her laptop. Money that was real and hers and changing everything. She called Shanice. Girl, where have you been? Shanice's voice exploded through the speaker. I was about to call every hospital in Manhattan. I got a job, Maya said, her voice sounding distant even to herself. A real one, with salary and benefits. Silence. Then, what kind of job? I can't really talk about it. I signed an NDA. An NDA? Maya, what the hell is going on? Yesterday you were bussing tables, now you're signing NDAs? It's complicated. Where are you? I'm coming to meet you. Maya looked around the library. The homeless man sleeping in the corner, the teenagers doing homework, the old woman reading newspapers from 1987, her world for the past 6 years. I'm going home, she said. I'll explain everything I can, just trust me, okay? Do I have a choice? Not really. Shanice laughed, but it sounded worried. Okay, but if you end up dead in a dumpster, I'm going to be so mad at you. Noted. That night, Maya paid her rent online. She ordered Thai food, actual delivery, not just ramen she made herself. She sat on her Murphy bed eating pad Thai and trying to process that her life had fundamentally changed in less than 24 hours. Tomorrow was Saturday. She should call Bella's, tell Robert she was quitting. 2 weeks' notice was professional, but Chen wanted her Monday. She'd have to burn that bridge. The thought made her sad. Bella's had been stable, Predictable, safe. Marcus and Diego and even Robert, they were her work family. Not close, not intimate, but familiar, known. Chen Industries was a black box full of corporate espionage and billionaires who left tests under napkins. But it was also $200,000 a year in health insurance and maybe, possibly, a chance to be something more than invisible. Maya's phone buzzed. Another text from Chen's number, this time with several attachments. Background reading for Monday. Study these files. Memorize faces. Names matter less than patterns. Trust your instincts. And Ms. Collins, the person stealing from me is smart, connected, and dangerous. They've evaded detection for 8 months. They won't hesitate to eliminate threats. Stay alert. Maya opened the first attachment. It was a personnel file for someone named Dr. Richard Voss, Chief Technology Officer, age 47, Stanford PhD, 15 years at Chen Industries. His photo showed a thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. The second file was for Sarah Mendez, VP of Operations, age 39, former McKinsey consultant known for ruthless efficiency. Her photo showed a striking woman with severe cheekbones and an expression that suggested she'd fire you before breakfast without losing her appetite. The third was James Park, head of security, age 52, former FBI, specialized in corporate counterintelligence. He looked like he could break Maya in half without trying. There were 27 more files. Maya's head spun. These were the people she'd be watching? Looking for inconsistencies among executives who probably had more security training than she had years of education? A final text came through. One more thing. The money I left you, the $10,000. That wasn't just a test. It was a message. Some people can be bought. Some people can be tested. Some people see underneath. You're the third type. Don't become the first. Maya set her phone down and looked at the personnel files spread across her laptop screen. 30 people. Any one of whom could be stealing millions in proprietary data. 30 people who would see her as exactly what she appeared to be. A nobody, a servant, someone beneath their notice, just like they had her whole life. Except now, that invisibility was her weapon. Maya stayed up until 3 a.m. studying the files, memorizing faces and details. Dr. Voss liked his coffee black, no sugar. Sarah Mendez had an MBA from Harvard and a reputation for destroying anyone who got in her way. James Park had a daughter at Yale and a wife who'd left him 5 years ago. She learned their patterns, their histories, their connections to each other. The organizational chart became a web in her mind. Who reported to whom? Who had access to what? Where the power really lived versus where it appeared to live. By the time she finally fell asleep, Maya had memorized all 30 faces. She dreamed of napkins covering secrets, of coins that turned to ashes, of glass towers that reached into clouds where she couldn't breathe. Saturday and Sunday blurred together. Maya called Bella's and quit. Robert sounded confused but wished her luck. She told Shanice a carefully edited version of events, omitting the $10,000 and the corporate espionage. Shanice remained suspicious but ultimately supportive. "Just promise me you're not doing anything illegal," Shanice said. "I promise." Or dangerous. Maya paused too long. Shanice caught it immediately. "Maya, I'll be careful. I promise." Sunday evening, Maya stood in front of her closet again. Tomorrow she'd walk into Chen Industries not as a visitor, but as an employee. She had no idea what that meant. No idea what she'd be doing beyond observing. No idea if she'd just made the best decision of her life or the worst. Her phone buzzed one final time. Chen's number. "Your security badge is active at 8 a.m. Come to the 45th floor. Jennifer will brief you. And Ms. Collins, remember what I said about trust. The person stealing from me has been here for years. They're inside the circle. They're someone I trusted. Don't make the same mistake I did." Maya turned off her phone and tried to sleep. She'd spent 6 years being invisible. Tomorrow, she'd find out what it meant to be seen. Monday morning, Maya stood outside Chen Tower at 8:47 a.m., watching executives stream through the revolving doors like a choreographed dance. They all moved with purpose, with belonging, with the unshakable confidence of people who knew they deserved to be there. She'd changed clothes 3 times that morning. The black slacks and navy blouse from Friday felt too much like an interview. The single dress she owned looked like she was trying too hard. Finally, she'd settled on dark jeans, her newest pair, only 2 years old, and a simple gray sweater. Professional enough to blend in, casual enough not to look like she was pretending to be something she wasn't. Whatever that was. Maya took a breath and walked through the doors. The lobby felt different than Friday. More alive, more intimidating. The security guard, who'd been polite before now, barely glanced at her credentials before waving her through. The executive elevator was crowded with people who didn't acknowledge her presence, their eyes fixed on phones or the ascending floor numbers. She was invisible again. But this time, it was the job. The elevator doors opened on 45. Jennifer Zhao stood waiting, looking impossibly put together in a cream pantsuit that probably cost more than Maya's entire wardrobe. "Ms. Collins." Right on time. Jennifer's smile was professional and slightly warmer than Friday. "Come with me. We have a lot to cover before Mr. Chen arrives." They walked past the conference rooms Maya had glimpsed before. In the morning light, the floor looked even more sterile. All glass and chrome and carefully curated minimalism. The city sprawled beyond the windows, impossibly far below. Jennifer led her to a small office tucked in a corner. It had a desk, a computer, a window overlooking 52nd Street, and nothing else. No personal touches, no plants, no indication anyone had ever worked there before. "This is yours," Jennifer said. "Your computer is set up with limited access to company systems. Mr. Chen will grant additional permissions as needed." She handed Maya a thin tablet. "This is for your observations. Encrypted, biometric, locked to you only. Anything you notice you record here. Names, times, behaviors, inconsistencies, everything." Maya took the tablet. It was lighter than it looked, the screen blank until her thumb touched it. Then it came alive with her photo, her name, and a single app labeled Observations. "How does this work?" "You write what you see. The AI analyzes patterns, flags potential concerns, and reports directly to Mr. Chen." Jennifer's expression became more serious. "No one else can access it. Not me, not security, not the board. Only you and Mr. Chen. Understand?" "I think so." "Good. Your cover story is that you're part of a new efficiency program, observing workplace dynamics to improve productivity. It's vague enough to be believable and gives you access to most areas." Jennifer pulled up a floor plan on the wall monitor. "Floors 30 through 45 are Chen Industries. You have clearance for all of them except 32. "What's on 32? "Classified research. Even I don't have access." Jennifer's tone suggested the conversation was over. "You'll spend most of your time on 41 through 44. That's where our executives work. The people in the files Mr. Chen sent you." Maya nodded, her stomach tight. "One more thing." Jennifer opened a drawer and pulled out a small earpiece. "Wear this. It's connected directly to Mr. Chen. If he needs to reach you, or if you need immediate guidance, it's there. Discreet. Most people will think it's a standard Bluetooth device." Maya fitted the earpiece. It was so small she could barely feel it. "Mr. Chen will meet with you at 10 a.m. Until then, I suggest you familiarize yourself with the 40th floor. Coffee station, break rooms, common areas. Watch how people interact. Start building your baseline." "My baseline?" "You can't spot inconsistencies until you know what's normal." Jennifer moved toward the door. "Welcome to Chen Industries, Ms. Collins. Try not to look too overwhelmed." People noticed that. Then she was gone, and Maya was alone in her office with a tablet, an earpiece, and absolutely no idea what she was doing. The 40th floor was marketing and communications. 30 people in an open-plan workspace with standing desks and motivational posters about innovation and disrupting paradigms. Maya walked through slowly, the tablet in her bag, trying to look purposeful. No one looked at her. She found the coffee station, an elaborate setup with an espresso machine that probably cost more than her monthly rent used to be. 3 people were there, talking about a product launch. They didn't stop their conversation when Maya approached. Didn't acknowledge her presence at all. She was a ghost. Maya made herself a coffee she didn't want and sat in a nearby chair that gave her a view of the workspace. She opened her tablet and began writing. "Floor 40, 9:15 a.m. Marketing Department. Approximately 30 employees. Open workspace creates constant visibility. Difficult to have private conversations without being overheard. Coffee station is social hub. People cluster there between 9-10 a.m., likely again after lunch. No one questioned my presence. It felt absurd, writing observations about coffee habits. But Jennifer said to establish a baseline, so Maya watched. A woman in her 30s, blonde, expensive shoes, wedding ring, made herself tea and checked her phone 4 times in 2 minutes. Anxious energy, waiting for something. 2 men near the windows talked in low voices about someone named Richard, screwing up a client presentation. One kept glancing toward the elevators like he was worried about being overheard. A younger woman, maybe 25, sat alone at her desk eating yogurt and crying silently while staring at her computer screen. Maya wrote it all down, feeling voyeuristic and uncomfortable. These were people's lives, their private moments, and she was cataloging them like a scientist studying lab rats. "You must be new." Maya looked up. The blonde woman with the anxious energy stood over her, smiling in a way that didn't reach her eyes. "I am," Maya said carefully. "Started today." "What department?" "Efficiency program. I'm observing workplace dynamics." The woman's smile froze. "You're one of Chen's spies." The word hung between them like a threat. "I'm here to help improve productivity," Maya said, keeping her voice neutral. "Right. Improve productivity." The woman's tone dripped skepticism. "Word of advice, people here don't like being watched. We're not stupid. We know someone's been stealing data. We know Chen's paranoid. But bringing in outsiders to spy on us, that's not going to help morale." She walked away before Maya could respond. Maya's hands shook as she typed. "Floor 40, 9:31 a.m. Employee hostile to observation program. Aware of data theft. Referred to Chen's spies plural suggests I'm not the first attempt at internal investigation?" The earpiece crackled softly. "She's right, you know." Chen's voice was quiet, almost amused. "You're not my first attempt. The previous 3 were too obvious. That's why I needed someone who looks harmless." Maya fought the urge to respond out loud. She couldn't talk to an invisible voice without looking insane. "Don't worry," Chen continued. "Most people won't be that direct. They'll ignore you. That's what you want. Keep watching. You're doing fine." The earpiece went silent. At 10 a.m., Maya returned to the 45th floor for her meeting with Chen. His office looked the same as Friday. Sterile, expensive, dominated by windows and monitors displaying data she couldn't interpret. Chen sat behind his desk, typing rapidly on a keyboard that made no sound. He didn't look up when she entered. "Sit." Maya sat. "Tell me what you noticed." She pulled out her tablet, but Chen waved it away. "Not from there. From memory." "What stood out?" Maya closed her eyes, pulling up the mental snapshots she'd collected. The blonde woman in marketing. She was waiting for something. Checked her phone constantly. When I mentioned the efficiency program, she immediately called me a spy and mentioned you're paranoid about data theft. She knew about it. So does everyone else, apparently. Her name is Allison Porter, mid-level manager. Adequate performance, nothing exceptional. Chen finally looked up. "What else?" 2 men were worried about someone named Richard messing up a presentation. They were nervous about being overheard, and there was a young woman crying at her desk. The men were discussing Dr. Richard Voss, CTO. You read his file. Chen leaned back in his chair. "The crying woman? I don't know. She wasn't in the files you sent. Because she's not a suspect. She's a junior analyst whose boyfriend just left her. Not relevant." Chen's eyes narrowed. "You need to learn to filter signal from noise. Not everything is significant. Focus on the people in the files. They're the ones with access to steal from me." Maya felt like she'd failed a test. "I'm sorry, Don't apologize. You're learning." Chen stood and moved to his wall of monitors. With a gesture, they changed to show different floors of the building. Live security footage. "The person I'm looking for has been here for years. They know how our security works. They know when cameras are active, when servers are backed up, when vulnerability windows exist. They're patient and methodical." "How do you know it's just one person?" "Because the data being stolen requires very specific access permissions. Only 30 people have those permissions. 29 of them are in the files I gave you." "Who's the 30th? Chen smiled without humor. "Me." The implication hung in the air. "You're telling me anyone could be the thief," Maya said slowly. "Including the people investigating it." "Now you're thinking correctly." Chen turned back to the monitors. "James Park, head of security, has been investigating for 8 months. He's found nothing. Either he's incompetent, which I don't believe, or he's complicit, which is worse. Dr. Voss has complete access to our research servers. Sarah Mendez controls our operations, including security protocols. Any of them could be guilty. All of them have motive." "What's the motive?" "Money. Always money." Chen pulled up a file on the center monitor. "Our latest AI algorithm is worth approximately $800 million to the right buyer. Competitors would pay that without blinking. 800 million split with an insider? Very motivating." Maya's head spun. She was supposed to find someone willing to steal $800 million? Someone who'd evaded professional security for 8 months? "I can't do this," she said quietly. "I'm not qualified, I'm not trained. You're someone who sees what others miss." Chen's voice was firm. "Dr. Voss, Sarah, James, they're all looking for digital evidence, traces in code, security logs, server access patterns. But the person doing this is smart enough to erase those. What they can't erase are human patterns. The small behaviors that feel wrong, the micro expressions when certain topics arise, the meetings that don't make sense, that's what you're looking for. And if I find it, you report to me, only me. Not security, not HR, not even Jennifer. The person stealing from me is someone I trusted. I won't make that mistake twice." Chen walked to his desk and pulled out a file folder. Actual paper, not digital. "This is everything we know about the thefts. Dates, times, what was stolen, estimated value. Study it. Look for patterns. And Ms. Collins? Yes? The blonde woman, Allison Porter. She was right. People here don't like being watched. Some of them will try to intimidate you. Some will try to befriend you to find out what you know, and one of them," his expression hardened, "will try to eliminate you if they realize you're a threat. Stay alert." Maya spent the rest of the day on floor 43, executive offices where the people from Chen's files worked. She walked past Dr. Voss's office and saw him through the glass wall, hunched over 3 monitors, fingers flying across keyboards. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. Sarah Mendez's office was dark. Her assistant said she was in meetings all day. James Park's security office was on floor 39. Maya took the stairs down and found him reviewing footage on a dozen screens. He glanced up when she entered, cold assessment in his eyes. "You're Chen's new observer." It wasn't a question. "Yes, sir." "Waste of time." Park turned back to his screens. "I've been investigating this theft for 8 months. If there was a human pattern to find, I'd have found it. This is sophisticated digital espionage, not someone leaving clues in their behavior. Mr. Chen thinks—" "I know what Chen thinks. He thinks someone I trust is betraying him. Maybe he's right. Maybe it's me." Park's smile was humorless. "You want my advice? Watch everyone. Trust no one. And remember, the person doing this has already proven they're smarter than our security. They won't hesitate to hurt you if you get too close." Maya left his office feeling shaken. The earpiece crackled. "Park's trying to scare you," Chen said. "Don't let him. But also, don't dismiss the warning. He's right about one thing. Whoever's doing this is dangerous." At 6 p.m., Maya returned to her small office and opened the file Chen had given her. The thefts had started 11 months ago. Small at first, minor research files, preliminary data, nothing that triggered alarms. Then they escalated. Source code, client databases, proprietary algorithms worth millions. The pattern was irregular, sometimes weeks between thefts, sometimes multiple in 1 week. No obvious timing pattern, no clear connection between what was stolen. Unless— Maya pulled up her tablet and cross-referenced the theft dates with company calendar. Then she saw it. Every major theft occurred within 48 hours of a board meeting. Board meetings where Dr. Voss presented research updates, where Sarah Mendez reported on operations, where James Park briefed on security, where all the suspects were in one room, with access to each other's information. Maya's fingers shook as she typed her observation. The earpiece crackled. "You see it." Chen's voice held something Maya hadn't heard before. Excitement. "You see the pattern. The board meetings." Maya whispered. "That's when they strike. And our next board meeting is Thursday, 3 days from now." Maya's stomach dropped. "You're using it as bait. I'm using it as an opportunity. And so are you. Because whoever's stealing from me will make their move again, and this time you'll be watching." The line went dead. Maya sat in her office as darkness fell over Manhattan, looking at the file that listed thefts worth hundreds of millions, thinking about Thursday's board meeting, thinking about how the thief would be in that room, and how she'd have to figure out which one before they realized she was hunting them. Tuesday morning, Maya arrived at Chen Tower at 7:30 a.m. She hadn't slept. The file Chen gave her had consumed her entire night. Dates, thefts, patterns swimming through her mind until dawn broke over Queens. The board meeting was Thursday at 2 p.m. 48 hours to figure out which of the 30 suspects was willing to betray a billionaire for $800 million. No pressure. Maya spent Tuesday on floor 41, where the senior executives worked. Dr. Richard Voss arrived at 8:15 a.m. carrying 3 coffee cups, all for himself apparently. He looked worse than Monday, his shirt wrinkled, dark circles under his eyes suggesting he'd spent the night in his office. Maya wrote, Voss appears sleep-deprived. Excessive caffeine consumption? Stress indicators? Or working late on legitimate projects? At 9 a.m., Sarah Mendez swept through the floor like a force of nature. Expensive suit, perfect hair. The kind of woman who made everyone around her stand a little straighter. She stopped at Voss's office, knocked once, and entered without waiting for permission. Maya couldn't hear their conversation through the glass, but body language spoke volumes. Mendez stood while Voss remained seated. Power play. She gestured sharply. He nodded, looking defeated. The meeting lasted exactly 4 minutes. When Mendez left, she walked past Maya without acknowledging her existence. Maya wrote, Mendez and Voss meeting. Mendez dominant. Voss compliant or intimidated. Relationship dynamic suggests hierarchy beyond official titles. The earpiece crackled. Good observation, Chen said. Sarah's been pushing Voss hard on the new AI algorithm. She wants it ready for Thursday's board presentation. He's behind schedule. Is that normal? Voss is always behind schedule. Brilliant researcher, terrible project manager. Sarah's been covering for him for years. Covering for him or controlling him? Silence. Then, that's an interesting question. Wednesday, Maya focused on James Park. She spent the morning in the security center on floor 39, watching him review footage from cameras covering every inch of the building. Park worked methodically, checking timestamps against access logs, searching for discrepancies. He was good at his job, thorough, detail-oriented, missing nothing obvious. But he was also the one person who could manipulate what those cameras saw. You're still here, Park said without looking up from his screens. Most observers quit by day 3. Too boring for them. I don't bore easily. Or you're more stubborn than smart. Park finally turned to face her. You find anything useful yet? I'm still establishing baselines. Right, baselines. His expression was unreadable. You know what I think? I think Chen hired you because you're expendable. If the thief realizes someone's getting close, better they go after a nobody than someone important. The word stung because they might be true. If I'm expendable, why waste time warning me? Maya asked. Park almost smiled. Because expendable doesn't mean worthless, and because, he hesitated. Because I've been investigating this for 8 months and found nothing. Maybe fresh eyes will see what I missed. Or maybe you'll get hurt and Chen will finally take this seriously. You think he doesn't take it seriously? I think he treats it like a game, a puzzle to solve. He doesn't understand that whoever's doing this has already proven they're willing to destroy this company for money. That kind of person won't hesitate to destroy you too. Maya left the security center with Park's warning echoing in her mind. Wednesday afternoon, Maya was reviewing her notes in her office when Jennifer Zhao knocked on her door. Mr. Chen wants to see you. Now. Chen's office looked different. The monitors displayed something new, a complex web of connections between the 30 suspects. Lines showing who communicated with whom, who had access to what, who benefited from which thefts. Tomorrow's the day, Chen said without preamble. The board meets at 2 p.m. Voss will present the new AI algorithm. Sarah will report on operations. Park will brief on security, ironically. And somewhere in that meeting, our thief will find their opportunity. How do you know? Because I'm giving them one. Chen touched the screen, and it zoomed in on a file labeled Quantum AI Final. This is fake data, a honeypot. It looks like the complete algorithm, worth billions to the right buyer. But it's corrupted. Anyone who steals it and tries to sell it will expose themselves. You're setting a trap. I'm forcing their hand. The board meeting gives them cover. Everyone's distracted. Security is focused on the presentation. Systems are vulnerable for exactly 18 minutes during the data transfer to the conference room. Chen's eyes were cold. Whoever takes the bait will move tomorrow. And you're going to tell me who. How? By watching. You'll be in the boardroom during the meeting. Your cover is that you're observing executive communication dynamics. No one will question it. He pulled up a seating chart. You'll sit here in the corner where you can see everyone. Watch their faces when I mention the new algorithm. Watch who checks their phone, who looks nervous, who looks excited. The human tells will give them away. Maya's mouth went dry. What if I'm wrong? Then we keep looking. But you won't be wrong. You see things others miss, that's why you're here. Why? Thursday morning arrived with heavy clouds threatening rain. Maya dressed in her best clothes, the black slacks and navy blouse from her first day. She looked at herself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. 2 weeks ago, she'd been invisible by necessity, survival camouflage in a world that didn't see her. Now she was invisible by design, a weapon Chen had pointed at his own company. The question was whether she'd find the target before the target found her. Maya arrived at Chen Tower at noon. The 45th floor buzzed with pre-meeting energy. Assistants rushed between offices. Executives rehearsed presentations. The air felt charged, like everyone knew something important was about to happen. Jennifer met her at the elevator. "Boardroom is ready. You'll sit in the back corner. Tablet only. No phone, no recording devices. Just observe and take notes. After the meeting, report directly to Mr. Chen. No one else." Jennifer's expression was unreadable. "Good luck, Ms. Collins." The boardroom was massive, a long table that could seat 20, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Manhattan. The storm clouds had rolled in, darkening the sky, making the room feel ominous. Maya took her seat in the corner as executives began filing in. Dr. Richard Voss entered first, carrying a laptop and looking like he might vomit. He sat near the head of the table, hands shaking as he opened his computer. Sarah Mendez arrived next, perfectly composed, taking the seat directly across from Voss. She glanced at Maya once, a brief assessment, then dismissed her as irrelevant. James Park came in with a security tablet, taking a seat near the door. His eyes scanned the room methodically, lingering on Maya for a moment longer than comfortable. Other board members arrived, CFO, COO, heads of various departments. Maya recognized them from the files but focused on the three main suspects. At exactly 2 p.m., Alexander Chen entered. The room fell silent. Chen took his seat at the head of the table and looked around with the expression of a man who owned everything in sight. Because he did. "Let's begin," he said. "Richard, your presentation." Voss stood on shaky legs and pulled up his slides. The new AI algorithm, or what everyone thought was the new AI algorithm. Maya watched his face as he presented. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His voice cracked twice. He looked terrified, but not guilty, just stressed. Maya wrote, "Voss showing extreme anxiety, consistent with performance pressure, not deception." She shifted her attention to Sarah Mendez. The VP of Operations sat perfectly still, watching Voss's presentation with the intensity of a predator studying prey. Her expression never changed, never showed approval or criticism, just cold calculation. Maya wrote, "Mendez extremely controlled. No emotional response to presentation. Abnormal?" James Park wasn't watching the presentation at all. His eyes moved between his security tablet and the room, checking for threats, monitoring access points. Standard security behavior. But then Maya noticed something. Park's tablet screen reflected in the window behind him. He wasn't monitoring security feeds. He was watching a data transfer in progress. Maya's pulse spiked. She kept her face neutral, kept writing on her tablet like she'd noticed nothing. But her peripheral vision stayed locked on Park's reflection. The data transfer bar was at 47%. Someone was stealing the honeypot file right now, during the meeting. But Park wasn't stopping it. He was watching it happen. Maya's mind raced. Park was either the thief or he was monitoring the thief. Either way, he knew the theft was occurring and hadn't raised the alarm. She glanced at Chen. He was watching Voss's presentation with apparent interest, asking questions, pushing back on technical details. But his eyes flicked to Maya once. A silent question. "Do you see it?" Maya gave the smallest nod. Chen's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. He was ready. Voss finished his presentation looking relieved to have survived. Sarah Mendez stood next for the operations report. She spoke with machine precision about efficiency metrics, cost reductions, streamlined protocols, numbers and data that meant nothing to Maya but clearly impressed the board. Maya kept watching Park's reflection. The data transfer hit 72%. Mendez's report ended. Park stood for the security briefing. "No major incidents this quarter," he said, his voice steady. "We've enhanced our monitoring protocols, updated our encryption standards, and implemented new access controls. The building is secure." The irony was stunning. He was reporting on security while watching data get stolen. Maya's fingers trembled as she wrote, "Park monitoring active data theft during meeting, not intervening, complicit or observing." The transfer hit 89%. Chen called for a 5-minute break. Board members stood, stretched, checked phones. Voss practically ran from the room toward the bathroom. Mendez stepped to the window making a phone call. Park remained seated, eyes on his tablet. 94%. Maya stood and walked toward the window, pretending to admire the view. She positioned herself where she could see Park's tablet directly. The transfer completed. 100%. But the file destination wasn't an external server or cloud storage. It was an internal location, floor 32, the classified research floor, the one floor even Jennifer didn't have access to. Maya's blood ran cold. The theft wasn't going outside the company. It was going to another part of Chen Industries. Someone was consolidating stolen data internally, building their own repository before eventually moving it off-site. And only 3 people had access to floor 32. Chen, Voss, and one other person, Jennifer Zhao. Maya's mind reeled. Chen's chief of staff, the woman who'd briefed her, given her the tablet, positioned her in this room. The person Chen trusted most. The person who knew everything about Chen's operations, his security, his suspicions, his investigation. The person who'd know exactly when to strike. Maya looked around the room. Jennifer wasn't there. She never attended board meetings. She'd be in her office 1 floor up with complete access to every system, every camera, every file. The earpiece crackled. "You figured it out." Chen's voice was barely a whisper. Maya touched her earpiece once. "Yes. Don't confront her. Return to my office. Now." Maya set down her tablet and walked out of the boardroom, her heart hammering. She took the elevator to 45, watching the floor numbers climb, wondering if Jennifer was monitoring the cameras right now, wondering if she'd already realized Maya knew. The elevator doors opened. Jennifer stood waiting. "Mr. Chen wants to see you?" she asked, smiling pleasantly. Maya's throat felt dry. "Yes, he's on a call. You can wait in your office." It was a test. Maya knew it. If she went to her office instead of Chen's, she'd be alone, vulnerable. "I'll wait outside his office," Maya said, keeping her voice steady. Jennifer's smile didn't waver. "Of course." They walked together down the corridor. Maya's office was to the left. Chen's was straight ahead. Jennifer matched her pace, staying exactly beside her. At the intersection, Jennifer stopped. "Actually, Maya, can I ask you something?" Maya's hand went to her pocket where her phone was. "Sure. What exactly did you observe in the board meeting?" "Mr. Chen will want a detailed report." The question sounded innocent, but Jennifer's eyes were sharp, calculating, looking for tells. "Executive communication patterns," Maya said. "Dr. Voss shows high stress. Ms. Mendez maintains exceptional control. Mr. Park monitors security effectively. Nothing unusual?" Everything seemed normal. Jennifer studied her for a long moment, then smiled again. "Good. I'm glad your first board meeting went well. You can wait in Mr. Chen's office. I believe his call just ended." She walked away toward the elevators, heels clicking on the polished floor. Maya waited until she was gone, then practically ran to Chen's office. He was standing at the windows, hands behind his back, looking out at the storm clouds. "She knows," Maya said. "Yes. She's been stealing from you for almost a year, moving everything to floor 32, building her own database of your research. She was going to wait until she had everything, then disappear." "Yes, you knew." Maya's voice rose. "You knew it was her. That's why you hired me, to confirm it." Chen turned to face her. "I suspected, but I needed proof. Jennifer's been with me since I founded this company. She knows every system, every protocol, every security measure. If I'd accused her without evidence, she'd have destroyed what she'd stolen and disappeared before I could stop her. So you used me as bait. I used you as confirmation. You saw what I couldn't prove, that she's been monitoring the thefts, that she has access to floor 32, that she positioned herself perfectly to manipulate every investigation." Chen's expression was harder than Maya had ever seen it. "You did exactly what I needed you to do. You looked underneath. What happens now?" "Now we end this." Chen pressed a button on his desk. The office doors locked with an audible click. On the monitors, security footage showed James Park and 4 armed guards entering the elevator heading to floor 32. "Park's been my insurance policy," Chen said. "He knew I suspected an inside job at the highest level. He's been documenting everything, waiting for proof. You just gave it to us." Another monitor showed Jennifer at her desk, typing rapidly on her computer. She looked calm, focused. Then Park and the guards appeared behind her. Even through the camera, Maya could see the moment Jennifer realized she'd been caught. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. Her face went white. Park said something. Jennifer stood slowly, hands visible. No sudden movements. "She's smart enough not to resist," Chen said quietly. "She knows it's over." Maya watched as they led Jennifer to the elevator. The woman who'd welcomed her on her first day, who'd briefed her, who'd smiled and acted like everything was normal while stealing hundreds of millions in proprietary data. Why did she do it? Maya asked. Money. Always money. She'd been negotiating with 3 different companies, planned to auction the complete database. Estimated value, $2 billion. She would have been set for life. Chen's jaw tightened. Instead, she'll be lucky if she avoids federal prison. The monitors showed Jennifer being escorted from the building. News vans were already pulling up outside. Someone had tipped them off, probably Chen himself. You'll need to give a statement to the FBI, Chen said. Tell them what you observed. The data transfer, Park's monitoring, your suspicions. It'll help build the case. Maya nodded, feeling numb. Ms. Collins, she looked up. You did well. Better than I expected. The position is yours permanently if you want it. $200,000 a year. Or, Chen pulled out a different folder. I have another option. Maya took the folder. Inside was a letter of recommendation to Columbia University, a check for full tuition, and a job offer for a part-time position at Chen Industries while she completed her degree. You noticed Jennifer because you understand people, Chen said. You read patterns, motivations, contradictions. That's valuable in security work, but it's more valuable in the field you originally chose, sociology, understanding human behavior, why people do what they do. The world needs more people who can see underneath. Maya stared at the folder. It was everything she'd wanted 3 years ago. Everything she'd given up when her mother got sick. Why are you doing this? She asked. Because you looked under the napkin when 43 other people didn't. Because you saw through Jennifer when everyone else, including me, trusted her. And because... Chen's expression softened slightly. Because I know what it's like to be invisible. I was a scholarship kid at MIT. Poor, Asian, overlooked. I built this company to prove I mattered. You deserve the same chance. Maya looked at the check. Full tuition. 4 years at Columbia. And the job offer. 20 hours a week, $60,000 a year. Enough to live on while studying. You don't have to decide now, Chen said. Take the weekend. Think about what you want. Friday morning, Maya stood outside Bella's bistro. She'd called Marcus the night before, asked if she could stop by. The restaurant looked different in daylight. Smaller, less intimidating. Just a place where people ate food and left tips. Marcus met her at the door with a huge smile. Look at you. Robert said you got some fancy new job. Corporate, right? Something like that. Good for you, Maya, really. You deserved better than this place. Diego came out from the kitchen, gave her a hug that smelled like onions and cilantro. You come back for free food, I make you something special. They sat at table 12, where everything had started. The table where Alexander Chen had left 7 quarters and $10,000 under a napkin. I wanted to thank you, Maya said. Both of you, for treating me like I mattered when I worked here. You did matter, Marcus said simply. You were good people. That matters more than tips. Maya reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. Inside was $5,000, half the original money Chen had left her. I want you to split this, she said. Upgrade Diego's kitchen equipment. Fix the leaking sink in the bathroom, whatever you need. Marcus tried to refuse. Maya insisted. Finally, he took the envelope with tears in his eyes. You didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. You saw me when other people didn't. That's worth more than money. Monday morning, Maya walked into Columbia University's admissions office. She'd called ahead, explained her situation, submitted Chen's recommendation letter. The admissions counselor looked over her file. We rarely accept re-entry students mid-year, but with this recommendation from Mr. Chen and your previous academic record, I think we can make an exception. Welcome back, Ms. Collins. Maya started crying in the admissions office. Happy tears, relieved tears, tears for her mother who'd wanted this for her, tears for the 6 years she'd spent invisible. That afternoon, she returned to Chen Tower one last time. Jennifer's office was empty, being packed up by HR. Maya walked past it to Chen's office. He looked up from his computer. You decided. I want to finish my degree, but I'd like to keep working part-time, if the offer still stands. It does. 20 hours a week. You'll work with our new head of security. James Park is being promoted. You'll help develop better observation protocols. Train others to see what you saw. Jennifer almost got away with it, Maya said. If I hadn't noticed Park's reflection, but you did notice, that's the point. You pay attention. You see underneath. Chen stood and offered his hand. Welcome back, Ms. Collins, part-time. Maya shook his hand, feeling the weight of it. This man had tested her, used her, but also given her a chance no one else would. One question, she said. The napkin, the coins. Was it all just a test? Or did you actually think I deserved more than 7 quarters? Chen smiled. A real smile, not the corporate one. I watched you for 20 minutes before I left that night. Watched how you treated the elderly couple at table 7, how you helped the busboy who dropped a tray, how you never complained even though you were exhausted. The test was real, but so was my respect for you. And the 43 people who failed? Got a thank you note and got to keep the $10,000. I'm not cruel. He returned to his desk. But they didn't get what you got. A real opportunity. Because they never looked underneath. 6 months later, Maya sat in a Columbia sociology classroom, taking notes on a lecture about organizational behavior and human patterns. Her phone buzzed with a text from Chen. Board meeting Thursday. Need your observations on new CTO candidate. Free for lunch after? Maya smiled and typed back, I'll be there. She looked around the classroom. Students half her age, most of them privileged enough to have never worked a service job, never been invisible, never looked under napkins because they'd never had to. They were learning theories about human behavior. Maya had learned by surviving it. That night she returned to her new apartment, a small 1-bedroom in Brooklyn, affordable thanks to her salary from Chen Industries. The walls were still bare, but it was hers. Earned, not given. On her desk sat the black business card from that first night. Some people see what's in front of them. Rare few see what's underneath. Maya had looked underneath and found her future. Not because she was brilliant or exceptional, but because she'd spent 6 years being invisible and had learned that the most overlooked people often see the most. She'd been a black maid who people walked past without seeing. Now she was a Columbia student who Chen Industries hired to see what others missed. The coins on the table had been a test. The napkin underneath had been an invitation, and Maya Collins had accepted both.